Namaskara and happy Sunday, September 11th, everybody. Well, here I was preparing this morning for this incredible webinar, or I should say dive into this incredible text that you see given behind me, the so-called first Yoga Vidhi, or study of an actual text to give us the step-by-step yoga practice of Kundalini-based yoga, never before researched or published on by any scholar in the West. We have no idea how these chakras apply to the daily practice, what the pranayama was, what the meditation was, what the three-part pranayama had in terms of relationship with these monosyllabic seed mantras, all of which, as we saw in the first curriculum of this two-part curriculum, my 3-year introduction to the theory phase, now archived and available to all Patreon patrons. We learned that those seed mantras have 5 specific vowels that are not given in the version that we've received in the West through Arthur Avalon's Serpent power. And that, coupled with the step-by-step practices we have taught, or is what is taught in these manuals. Vidhi, Vidhi, prescription or daily practice of this yoga, and Padati, another word for manual of this yoga. No scholar has unpacked this before now, and this is the source of all my research and my publications now postdoc. So anyway, our first dive into this, who knows how long, journey into this rich textual heritage that we have at our fingertips now, was supposed to begin tonight, and it was all ready to, until I realized how incredibly important this particular introductory text, the Tara Puja Vidhi, is to our study. And I've decided, instead of just glancing through as a sort of sample text, to actually do a full translation in which all patrons will get the step-by-step pieced translation with the manuscript images, leading up to an actual full webinar, fully educated in the entire translation, 6 or 7 manuscript pages. These vidhis are short, but we will see the blow-by-blow prescribed practice, every breath count, every sound of the lost Kundalini yoga practice. And this will be a sample text in the sense that it's one of many. What's special is the artwork. Most of these texts don't have such artwork, so I'm drawn to them. They just have the description, the step-by-step sequence. This one, far different. Not only do we have the full seed mantras given and drawn as they are practiced in the subtle body, in such a way that scholars and practitioners should and could learn to recognize these sounds by just the way they're drawn artistically, as we'll see in the passages of these texts. This one, though, gives us a revelation on the breath count that I had not expected it to give. To glance over it through a preview session in a 90-minute introduction to this second curriculum would be, I think at this point, not advised. Let's go deeper. And to that point, September 24th, 2 weeks from today, I'm going to do the full webinar, probably 2 hours, and it'll be the beginning of the first, in which we unpack each piece of the translation that you will be getting. Before then, starting this week, everyone will get a link on Patreon, regardless of tier, of the Google Doc in which I translate this beautiful text. And now let's take a look at it piece by piece in this, let's say, preview recorded webinar. And 2 weeks from tonight, again, September 24th, Sunday, 5 p.m., we'll do a 2-hour webinar. If you can't make it live, it'll be recorded. And it'll be the first of many on this text in our series, the Tara Puja Vidhi, until we're done with it. And then we'll move on to the next, and then the next, until we realize how pan-Tantrik this practice is, and how special it is to the inheritance of our own yoga tradition. Let's go full screen and take a look a little bit deeper. Okay. So here is the original text, and it comes from, it is one of the many thousands of manuscripts just inherited. My greatest of gratitude from my colleague Chetan Pandey. 8 terabytes, that's right, 8 terabytes worth of manuscripts collected from numerous manuscript libraries that I just acquired in August, July. Here's a list of some of these called treasures on the hard drive. This is a first hard drive that has, let's go back here, well, 2.94 is part of it, but it's actually a 5 terabyte collection. And in this we find our text, and among the many collections we see, here we go, 3.5 terabytes on one hard drive that I call Little Blue, treasures, and in these countless treasures of unstudied manuscripts collected over 10 years. One of these is our text, and again our focus in the next curriculum, sadhana curriculum, starting now on September 21st instead of tonight, will be on the vidhis, the actual yoga sequences and practices of this chakra-based pan-Tantrik Kundalini yoga that's been lost to us before now. Okay. One of those, or one of the places that these manuscripts were, a few of them were preserved, is on the British Library's Tantric Archives site. And our text is simply there called Vidhi. Let's take a look. And by the way, I'm going to post the link, here it is, to our actual manuscript pages. So as we go through the translation the next couple of weeks, and then in terms of my post here on Patreon, but then in the webinars to follow beginning on the 21st, you'll have an opportunity to follow along manuscript page by manuscript page, right? Until we're done with it, and you can study on your own time, or at least look at what I'm talking about and coalesce the artwork with the actual translation. Hope that's going to be an exciting business for you. There are many vidhis or individual manuals here in this 29 paged, 29, these are called folios, 29 folios, A and B, page 1 and 2. So obviously that tells you that they're all very short, right? And that's good. Not the lengthy, opaque, purposely complex tantras that we've studied in the past, nor the overly simple chakra scrolls, which give us the art and the, that's huge, and also some of the identifying characteristics of each chakra. But that's not a sequence, that's not an instructional practice. All of these vidhis, ultimately given vidhi, sometimes called simply dhyanams, etc. Prana Pratishtha means establishing that power prana. They're all different texts that essentially the same daily yoga. But in this case, as you've seen already, phenomenal artwork. Okay? So our Tara Puja Vidhi is one of these, and it's the first 11, simply called Vidhi, right? But it's the Tara Puja Vidhi, number 1. Takes up about a third of all of these, and it ends here on the 13th folio. You've already seen in the advertising, the postings that I've made, these phenomenal depictions which have caught my eye and led me to look at this text. This is not just beautiful art like some of the others. It gives us a lot more. Let's take a quick look. Here are some of the sister vidhis. Some of these we've looked at in pieces. This is also in the new collection, but I already had this a couple years ago. This is, I didn't say it, but this is the Nirvana Vidhi, or Puja Vidhi, from Nepal. And here, what's significant here is you see the actual, I have two texts here actually, mixed together. They're sister texts from the same corpus in Nepal. You see here this, the repeat of this very, very beautiful and very important, not the most important facet of this yoga. The stack of seed mantras is what this is. There is the four initial seed syllables of the chakras as we know them today. Ang, yang, rang, lang, rang. These are not the chakra seed mantras, as part 1 of our curriculum proves time and time again with overwhelming evidence. Rather, that says H, short A is a filler vowel, and then the seed point with a dot is M with a dot under it. What it's really saying is, this is where you practice that seed mantra that begins with H. This is something I'm not going to show the general public until they've had an initiation as we've had into these actual seed sounds, because they're way too powerful for novices to work with. And a lot more on that in my other courses in the first curriculum. Haung, Yang, Rung, Ving, Wang. These are the original seed mantras, going back now from this text And indeed, these others I was just starting to show you, right? This is all of those sounds stacked together. Note that together they represent the power sound or resonance, all vocalic, no consonants, no M at the lips, right? Just that C point of right here. That's M with a dot is not M at the lips. Probably the most important takeaway in this entire study of this yoga. That's simple. Back together, they look like this, and they deliver the power vowel. More on that later. That powers the to break through. Practically speaking, though, in other vidhis like ours, you see each chakra denoted not just with the candy, right? The declinations of which deity and all that. That doesn't matter. What matters is this. Which of the vowels is practicing? And even here, it's not given absolutely on paper. This, of course, is lang, but it's saying that each of the seed mantras embodies the sounds of the others. LVRA, followed by each of the respective vowels. A, E, U, I, howl, right? And given the epithet of whichever version of Shakti, which represents vocalic Shakti, Rakini, Dakini, Rakini, which we see here, given different folio. Given here, right, on the page before this is page 11, right? Dakini, Dakini, Yakini, right here. How many pages open at once? There we go. Okay. What's different about our text here that's not in some of those other vidhi texts that we're going to look at? Well, most importantly, and this is going to be on folio 3, really the first page here. We flip it around. Again, check for the link below this text. And this is it. The introduction here. And these are notes I was taking in preparation this morning, right? In fact, let's bring it over. My screen captured version. Make it a little bigger. What do these terms mean? Well, you're going to get full translations of them. My intention was to give an overview like I'm giving now. When I realized this line here, that changed everything. This short text gives us the exact pranayama sequence. I'll come back to that in a moment. Practiced. There we go. Practice with each of the stacked seed mantras that are choreographed to each breath pause and exhale. In one text, we have essentially the heart of the entire yoga tradition. By that I mean the additional sort of shocking discovery, and I did not expect to see this. Because if the seed mantras are not coded over so you can't understand them, which is often the case, then the pranayama is not given. But here, we have the beginning of the text with its yantra. Atta Tara Puja. Now we begin that veneration to Tara, the power that crosses awareness beyond the confines of the body and brings down the light, sipping the nectar of immortality that is drawn down by breathing, literally inhaling after you've broken through with the force of the hum, broken through this granthi, this knot at the third eye. And so the first rite, and this is again coded language for a simple yoga practice, Achamana means to sip, literally to drink in the sound nectar that flows down and rejuvenates with fresh prana from the source self, this body healing disease, vyadi, and creating or expanding life force, and making you a fit vessel for the next round, more and more sound nectar for the next round of pranayama. The usual sort of preemptive one round each, right? Some kalpa means intention setting. The intention is Tara Mantram, to work with the three-powered Tara Mantra. These three here represent the seed points of the triangle here, right? There's the third, Hum in the center. This is Om Shring Hum, and that means that the womb of the universe above the head, galactic center, comes pouring down through the crown of the head and gives you the weapon. Literally, Hum is the weapon mantra that is attached to each of the 5 seed mantras. This seems overwhelming. It's like learning to ride a bike, right? There's components that you put together, and it can be learned with discipline. And it's not that complicated. Once you hear the sounds and feel them in your body, the inner wisdom takes over. So Achamanam 3 rounds of sipping for each round of pranayama in 3 parts. What does that mean? It means after the successful pranayama breaks open with your expulsion of the uchara, the sound of the seed mantra breaks open these points, particularly the third eye and the crown. You sip in the nectar, right? 3 rounds, 3 inhalations that draw this amrita, the deathless nectar of awakening into the body. Vini Yoga is a synonym for vinyasa. Here is the sequence. Right? First, you ritually install these 3 seed mantras that represent the triangle, forming in it the third eye. 1 round. In fact, we'll just go through this really quick. Sirisi on the head. Right? Para Devata Namaskarai Hridaye. Okay, here it is. So that is stream. So the first is Om on the head. Stream, which literally means woman. How beautiful is that? But it has the vocalic power. Here you see a consonant. I mentioned before there's no consonants, right? This is rare, but it's still not going to decapitate the sound because consonants stop. They're stops, right? Cut, cut, cut normally would stop a vowel sound like oh, but threw a T in there. Oh, cut, cut. All right, dental, ta. It would kill it because you're stopping the resonance like grabbing a singing bowl. But this is a little different. 3, so 3, 3, 3, 3. The T bounces off the teeth and carries the E and the hung upward. There's more on that later, but string. And these are installation mantras. Om, string in the heart, and then hung pak. Guhye means at the region of the genitals, just above the kunda. So hum is the sound that is brought down from the triangle above, meaning the mother. This is actually, if those of you that know astronomy, this is the summer triangle in the sky, which just had its apex in August. It's where Vega, Altair, and Deneb, the 3 stars, come together at the base of the Swan Hamsa, Abhijit or Vega star, which is almost galactic north, the old North Star, and then Altair. Straight above the head is the point. So installing these and the consequence or the subsequent pranayama that follows brings this hum, this weapon, down into the body each round that you then literally shoot with your kumbhaka, your retained in-breath. Shoot upon release. And it breaks out. Top of the mouth here. And paka, breaks through. And allows the next round to come down. Each round builds up the sonic power and the pranic power at the same time. So that for each of the 5 seed mantras, practice, each one progressively gets stronger and stronger until finally when you break through the 5th, or work with the 5th, the full amrita floats down and reach the awakened state. Universal consciousness expanded infinitely. But don't take my word for it. These are Vidhi texts, practice texts, right? Here's a discovery from today, which maybe you've seen already. Right? So a little bit of a cutoff here, but we can fill this in with sister texts. This undoubtedly said prana yama, or actually that's shana. But in any event, here we see Om Rang 16. I'm sorry, 64. Fix that. Kumbhaka 64. Kumbhaka's there. Let's do it like this. See? Hot off the press. We're correcting it as we go. It's 64. Then Kumbhaka. Right. 64. Om is the universal. It contains within it all the vowels that these mantras are drawn from, right? These 5 chakra seed mantras that we just looked at are all drawn, right? Hum, Yang, Rum being from Om. I was going to show this earlier. Go back, well, first about 700 years, the 9th century, to this manuscript representing the 6th century Kalotra. Same thing. Here, I've highlighted these chakras drawn into this beautiful palm leaf manuscript, the correct seed mantras. Harang, Haring. These are all semi-vowels or straight-out vowels, meaning there's no hatha or striking that would break up the flow of the sound vertically through your body. All right, and here they are given. There's Manipura, this is the wind, this is, well, be associated with the heart later, Anahata, it's a space associated later, as we know it in the West, the late text, like the one we're looking at, with Vishuddha Chakra. And then, of course, the beautiful 4-cornered Muladhara, which is also considered to be behind that triangle in the sky. So, fast forwarding once again, our text, what do we have here? We have Om, it's the number 64, Kumbhaka, breath retention. So what's cut off here is the inhalation, but we already know the length of that breath, and particularly from sister text. Here we see Om Vang. This is very key here. Vang. It's over a bit. Put this in square for you all to see. And take that away. And I'll make it work, I think. Yes. Okay. So here we see the letter Vang, right? This, of course, by this point we're working with, this is Vang too, with the half moon of the water symbol, later associated here with Swadhisthana chakra. There's Muladhara. So obviously this cutoff piece gives us the Muladhara sequence, because we're already at Swadhisthana here. But notice the count. This is what is not known to anybody in the West, this whole practice. All right. 64 rounds or pauses of Kumbhaka that follow the inhalation of, it shouldn't be 16 here. Rachika should be 24. 18 Rachika. I mean, sorry, 16. That's a 6. Oh no, that's right. I see what they're doing. So this is, they're building up the rounds of pranayama. There's probably 8 count inhale. See, we're going to find out. 64 is a standard Kumbhaka, 64 counts. This is what you build up to. 64 roughly seconds or heartbeats of holding breath pause as you repeat internally the seed mantra that you're about to uchara or expel. And in this case, Vang indicates being. So V, this is a place marker. It's simply telling you the seed mantra that starts with V. That's what VA Hung means. And that seed mantra is universally, in all texts I've ever seen, Ving. Right? So this connection here, even in this broken, segmented text, everybody, tells me that this entire brief Vidhi gives us everything, unlike most Vidhis, not just the actual uchara seed mantras, indicated by these illustrations, right, that populate the text. Those are actually from a different manuscript in this series, but they're given throughout. We have those, we have the artwork, right, but we also have this wonderful you go. This wonderful practice that's written into the text itself. Too many images open. There we go. Right? So here, upon discovering this morning, I realized it's time to go through each of these texts, because they're all going to give Achamana. They're all going to give Samkalpa. And a couple of other rites that are in this particular text that I see in all manuscripts. I'll go through briefly as well as what we have to look forward to. Achamana Samkalpa, Asya, and then down towards the end, for example, we have 1, 10, that's not right, 10, 11, 10. We have Japa Stotra, meaning singing, not a recitation, right here. Japa Stotre. This means a continuous song of sound has literally japa been penetrated from top to bottom throughout the body, right? And that leads visarjanam. That means to the expulsion downward of this nectar that flows through the body. Beautiful, right? I think this is the very end, actually, so that's a summarizing statement. But this is one of the rites inside the text, R-I-T-E-S. Ittitara Puja Vidhi, the ritual sequence of worship of one's own self, highest self. Worship doesn't have to mean, and it doesn't mean here, dualistic worship. It means offering to that higher self to awaken who you are with itself. With itself. Ittitara Puja Vidhi. Tara here, yes, personified often, especially in the Buddhist tradition, as a goddess. But ultimately, even in the Buddhist tradition, I have a couple images here for this. Even in the Buddhist tradition, she is seen as, or viewed as, pure sound. Right? These same seed mantras, I believe, are in the Buddhist rendition of this tantric practice. More on that soon, and I have evidence to back that up, which I can't find right now. Too many windows open. All right. So a couple of other highlights here. I mentioned down here there's an index, and these indexes give us, for all the texts in this particular collection, again, the actual seed mantras that are exercised in this 3-part pranayama. Right? Iti nirvana. The result of this is that we depend not just on breath alone, but on the nirvana state. Nirvana is not just like some broad woo-woo statement for enlightenment. It doesn't mean that. It means without wind. Does it mean you go to a world without wind? No. It means that once you tap this nectar and drink from that in the subtle body, your realization is that I'm not bound by breath. By drinking this, you begin to attune with the part of you, the soul that's immortal, that did not make it all its way into this body. This is called Jivan Mukti, the state of living liberation. And don't take it from me. My whole goal in providing this material, honoring my own father who was awakened from this practice, I believe, towards the end of his life, literally in the last months, and asked me to continue researching it. Or at least he certainly did a great job beating his terminal cancer with it, and I watched him do it, this sound practice. But he didn't know the whole tradition, right? So my goal here is to not talk hyperbole and amrita and kundalini in this abstract new age way that we often hear, but rather to actually look at the science. And it's not just this text, as I tried to show earlier. We have the same sounds, you all, being worked in the same way over 1,000 years. Right? Our schedule then, to recap, and I'll put it here in the post, will be a gradual, shared, Patreon-only, exclusive study of this text as I will translate it, all 10 of these pages, which you'll have access to and be able to reflect on if you want to learn Sanskrit, or at least see where I'm getting it from. And this, again, the science can be applied and is applied to all lineages of Tantra, Buddhist and Hindu, certainly all the Hindu. And I've confirmed that. So on the 21st, we will do our first live webinar on this, and it will be the entire translation. We will learn the terminology and what the code words are, like snana for in imbibing or drinking, or namaskara, which we might think of as just worshiping or bowing to somebody, is actually a technical phrase, scooch down, for where you target the exhale with each sound to be where the hands meet in a proper namaskara above the head. 12 fingers above the head is the point where this nectar comes down. And the point prior to that nectar coming down that you have to reach with each uchara through steady science, that sound which would ordinarily die around here, regardless of the seed mantra. You must discipline yourself to work in that sound through the nasal cavity, through this 3-part pranayama, to reach that point, 12 fingers above the crown of the head. 1,000 years of texts lie at our fingertips here. Many, many versions of the same daily practice, and this will be step 1. So please expect your inbox, as it were, to be filled up. All Patreon members will get the translation as I go through it. I'm not going to give a schedule. I'm just going to do it a little bit every day or two and post it. Namaskara. We'll talk soon. Please add any comments or suggestions to the comments box below.